Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew, with you here as always. This is the Commando Cast, a video cast about all things Star Wars Destiny. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando. Hey there, Star Wars Destiny folks. Welcome back to Dice Commando and the Commando Cast. Thanks for tuning in here on Destiny Friday. So it was just a week ago we were here with a similar video going over the ARH legal reprint list changes, the Echoes of Destiny changes, and this week we are back going over a surprise, or at least to me, surprise balance update. Big deal with the mid-cycles only a little more than a week away. And some of these changes are doozies. So buckle in, folks, going through it today. Hey folks, welcome back to Destiny Friday here on Dice Commando. I hope things have been going well for you this week. You've been getting some games in, and all those testing games you got in earlier this week, you can bank them for knowledge. But things have changed, because yesterday I was very, very busy. Last week I checked in at the end of the day, and boom, there's this balance update, and I'm like, whoa, what the heck just happened? And I actually had a video ready to go for today, which not only am I not posting because it's more important, but it's actually not valid anymore because of the changes. So you try to prep ahead and you get burned, but no, that's okay. These are very exciting changes. So that's what I wanted to do, is go over them today. We'll go over the article that Alrathian posted. Before we get into that though, I do think the timing of this is a little odd, right? So I want to remind everybody we have the mid cycles coming up next week, right? So the mid cycles are, traditionally, granted, we've only done them a couple times, but hey, man, two points makes a straight line in these worlds, right? But no, realistically, I'm a little surprised on the timing, because I thought that traditionally, right? But I typically thought that the mid-cycles were supposed to kind of be like a showcase of the set, or at least of that meta. And I realized like the two-player sets dropped and everything's changed, so I get that. But the timing's weird, because now everybody's basically got a week and a little more to innovate. So it kind of feels like, if we go into the assumption that a lot of these changes are meta shaking, which, spoiler alert, they changed Bo. So I think there's definitely something that changed there, right? So it feels to me like this is a little bit more like who can innovate faster, as opposed to kind of like as opposed to like showcasing the set, or like the repped and competitive side, which again is fine. It's not a complaint. It just, I was surprised to see it this week, right? I was surprised to see that. So, but again, it's what they want to do, and that's fair enough. But it does make it feel like there's a little bit of innovation. That said, right, given the size and nature of the community these days, it is highly likely that there's a good chance that a good portion of the competitive community that would be, making the top tables next weekend probably knew these changes were coming to whatever extent they knew. So probably have had a little bit of leg up, and because they had to test this and all that, right? So again, I don't know to what extent they've done that, but remember a couple weeks ago, and actually Alrathian talks somewhat to it in this article, because they're making some structural changes with this. But remember, they sunsetted the balance channel in preference of more playtesting. They opened up application to more playtesters, and the community's as it is only so big. So as more of us become involved, which is a good thing, which is absolutely a good thing, you have less and less surprises, right? So, and again, that's not in any way negative. It's not really feedback. It's just an observation, right? So, all right, let's go ahead and get into this. Now, like I said, there was some structural changes first, which I thought was really cool. When Alrathian, I had a chance to talk to Alrathian on the phone, 6-8 months ago. I don't remember what it was. And one of the things that had come out of that that I remembered coming out of that, was that he was having an issue with how fast they change things, because like they for example, they they being the Texas crew, right? He's down there in the Houston area. They still do have people who play IRL. And for people who play IRL, that they were like, man, the changes you guys are coming too fast. Yet within, it feels like in 3 days in the online world, people are bored and they've got it all figured out, which I think is really fair feedback. So he specifically addresses that here, and he says one of the pieces of feedback is heard pertaining to our announcements is when our announcements are legal. You guys can read. I don't need to read it to you, but I think that what's happening here is really smart, right? So IRL basically becomes legal immediately, and for in-person play, they're going to give like a grace period. It looks like it's roughly 2 weeks, right? Yeah, 2 weeks after release. So I think that's really cool that they're doing that. It actually makes sense. And then for in-person, and he says for in-person OP, right? So this would even be like a regional or anything like that. And there are some very logistical reasons that they'd want to do that, right? In terms of like people being able to print their cards, or if you want to order fancy stuff, right? Like if you decide for whatever, and shameless plug, if you decide for whatever reason you want to come up to Portland and play, you would need to have gotten that together and collected. And like if they drop this surprise thing 7 days before a mid-cycle, for example, on you, that wouldn't work. So that's a lot of words to say this is a really smart change. It's a really good change. It makes a lot of sense. Okay. All right. So TLDR for the changes, cover them all. There's some interesting ones here. So first off, we have Thrawn, IG-88, and Yoda, all from Spark of Hope, have all gotten minused. They've all gotten negative balanced. And I remember SOH is the next one. Spark of Hope will be the next one to rotate out. I do find it interesting that they decided to touch that, because I thought previously they had said that they didn't want to touch FFG cards. And then on top of that, the Trandoshans got a bump up, which I think, if I remember correctly, puts them back to where they were for the Gandorkakron, which was like that unofficial carryover that was out there before ARH really, or before, when ARH was a thing, but before FA dropped, right? So it puts them back there, which I think is appropriate. I would have been very surprised if FFG was still around, had been around. I would have been very surprised if the Trandoshans didn't get hit in some way after they won Worlds, right? I mean, they were likely going to win. So anyway, so next changes, Taron is 11-17, so he's back to normal. I think that makes sense inherently because, I mean, Blue Villain's not exactly like shaking anything up right now. Han Solo, this one's interesting. We'll talk about it in a bit. It's an interesting call, and I think it's probably the right call. But he is restricted with Jin, so no other changes to him. He's restricted with Jin. Unlikely Heroes now is -1, meaning it's plus. They've added 1 to it, so it's now -1. Right? That's a little confusing in the way it's written, but I mean the way that's written makes sense. It's just it's now -1 instead of +1. Bo-Katan is +1/+1. It hurts me, but I think it's the right thing to do. Racco is -2/-2. That's aggressive. So there's some very interesting pairings there. Kylo, I did actually talk about that. So Kylo from Redemption's -1/-1, and then Iden, who's what I was going to talk about tomorrow. Iden's +2/+2, which I think is the right call. I personally think maybe they should have just banned Iden altogether, but at +2/+2, I don't know what she's gonna do. I mean, I don't. That's gonna be hard for her. So, Spark of Hope is set to rotate out in a few short months, and we wanted some to give the fan favorites and updates so they can be enjoyed in full for a few more months until they resurface. Like I said, that's. I mean, so Thrawn at -2 specifically is big. I think he might find some play. I mean, he was always really, well, he was never there, but he was always like one of those like, man, this guy could be really good if we could make him work, right? So maybe somebody will figure out a way to make him work. Nothing's jumping to my head right now, but that's cool. This one I'm really surprised at. IG-88, I never would have seen this one coming at 13-16. This one's going to really help keep those like 3-wide piloting decks, like what was it, Smuggler, there we go. I don't know what I said. That's why I had S in my head. So Smuggler pilots. And then Yoda at 13-17. That's interesting because that actually opens them up in a 3-wide with Ahsoka, right? So that's interesting. I don't know if there's anything there, but that's interesting. Terron at 11-14. We were always scared. Remember in FA, he was like the Terror, right? The Terron the Terror. So they think that since, it is, I think it's worth trying. There's no problem there. Racco, I know Wookiees dancing a jig somewhere. That's big. So basically they say that at 18, I'm surprised it's -2, but they say at 18 they thought he would still struggle. So they're looking forward to seeing what decks people might come up with Racco. Well, my guess would be that they have a few decks in mind if they decided on, right? Because what that tells me from that statement is that they tried him at 18, they didn't find anything that worked, but they've got something they think at 17. So that's really cool. I know there was some it was joking type Discord on our chatter on our Discord. When is there not Discord on Discord? But no, so there was some chatter on Discord about like having him team up with Cad, which would have been kind of cool, right? But obviously the points would have been a disaster there, right? So, and then Kylo, I actually made a video about that. I was like, you guys know I'm not a huge fan of Balance of the Forces, but I thought that he would have been appropriate there. There's some really cool stuff to try with him at 16, right? It opens up a lot of potential options, right? I don't know if any of them are going to be good, but there's some stuff to try there. So that one's cool. That's probably where my effort's going to go first. Consistent damage is not a bad thing if you can make it work. All right, so the other balance changes, specifically Spy Han. I'm actually going to read this because I think he did a pretty good job here, right? So Han felt like the most difficult character to address. His pairing with Jin combined with the potency of the deck with Black Market, yeah, no joke, has pushed the deck so far into tier S status, tier 1 status, whatever. So in the hand of the right pilot, this deck is really good, yeah. So while a very skill-based deck, it's also a deck that's very dominant and a pairing that ultimately found he had to address. So the Trandoshans, do I really need to talk about? So anyway, Han is where he is. I think the problem here is removing Han. Yeah, well, let's talk meta applications, but I don't know where else Han goes, right? And then I also don't know who you pair Jin with anymore. So that's kind of I think that's kind of a feel bad, but on the other hand, that deck was so good that I think it kind of makes sense, right? So no problem on my end here. It's always a bummer to see a deck just get flat body slammed, but sometimes the trend, to be fair, the Trandoshans got body slammed because yeah. So, and I don't think we need to go too much in the Trandoshans. They've been rocking. They've been at the edge of the. There was a while there in the ARH period where they weren't super good, but they've always been on the edge. It's just right now giving them 5 dice that they can auto flip and then just a ton of control and using your dice against you is really good. Unlikely heroes. Oh, fair. You know what? I was talking about the 3-wide piloting deck, but actually the 3-wide piloting deck takes a hit with unlikely heroes. I actually didn't think about that right off the top of my head. See, this is big. This is really big, right? So a plot gives -2 with real strong downside. Yep. Agree wholeheartedly, should not have been probably made that way, I would think. Probably, yeah. No probably about it. So probably shouldn't have been made that way. So yeah, that hurts that deck too. And then Bo going to 17. Yeah, no surprise to anybody. I agree. I think, don't get me wrong, I love playing her, but I think she was probably undercosted for what she was. To be honest, I think they probably could have put her at 18 and people probably wouldn't have, I think if she'd released at 18, people had been like, oh, well, that's not super great, but okay. I think she probably would have, would she have made it in top tier meta at 18 if she'd been released that way? Maybe, maybe not. But just because of pairings and stuff. But I don't think people would have thought she was unreasonably designed at 18, and she's still at 17. The other problem here is the pairings, right? You can still play her with Rex, but losing, right? Remember, you used to be able to play her with Kara and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then it was Rex, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now it's Rex, no Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So at some point, you have to start evaluating how much more value Bo-Katan's giving you. And, yeah. Okay, so watch list, data heist. Yeah, it is swingy, but I don't know that data. I don't personally know that data heist is going to be a problem. So I think data heist stays on the watch list. Inhibitor chip, I wouldn't be surprised that they just take it away. Primarily not because I think it's like necessarily broken and all that stuff. I mean, it is way above cost curve. Like, and I'll be blunt. If you're out there saying that it's not above curve, you're enjoying playing inhibitor tip against people too much, right? It is above curve. There's no question about it, right? The fact that it comes in tapped or exhausted doesn't really mean much, right? So, or not exhausted. Sorry, you have to come in and exhaust it. You guys know what I mean, right? So the fact that you can't use it first turn, I don't think balances it out. Like, it's still really good for what it does. The Senator, yeah. I mean, the Senator, I think facilitates. I think leaving the Senator where it is good because he still facilitates some decks out there in like the tier 1.75, let's just say tier 2 range, right? Like Qui-Gon Senator, like if you embrace. Like Qui-Gon's always been kind of like out there on alone and hard to pair with, and then you take that away. Yeah, so I think he's okay. I mean, he's really good. Black Market Connections, I've been very vocal about that since the very beginning. This card and its swinginess is just generally not good for game balance overall. So, and it's not that like overall, and let me take that back. It's not that like overall game balance is bad for cards like that, because like they can definitely fit and like you're going to win big, lose most of the time. But then the thing is, like with all the card draw and stuff, I mean, there's literally people building their decks around cycling things so they can get this card out. I think they just need to bite the bullet and kill this card and say, right, again, I'm not saying it's that the card itself is broken. I'm saying that this type of card, especially in a game with inherent randomness like Destiny, doesn't need more swingy randomness. And anyway, there's any number of videos that I've said that piece on, and you guys are probably tired of hearing it. So, but I think cards like that really just don't belong in this game. Den of Thieves, I think Den of Thieves has been okay since they fixed it. I mean, it is health, but like, on the flip side, well, I mean, Yellow has a lot of tools, right? They do. Like, I'm not taking that away from them, but they don't really have healing. So, like, I don't know that this one's horrible. I mean, I grant you that, like, Villain in general doesn't necessarily have healing. So fair enough. But you couldn't have given it to Hero, because then it would have had that and healing, and, like, anyway. So I don't know that Den of Thieves, like, I think Den of Thieves probably stays on the watch list. Like, the ones on here that I think probably will end up becoming something, or maybe, well, I think Black Market Connection should just go away. And I think Inhibitor Chip probably gets reevaluated. The Rebel Smuggler, I skipped over him intentionally because I'm going to use some images that I made in the last video and go ahead and throw them up there because I made them. The Rebel Smuggler is disgusting, right? The fact that you can double resource off of a single die resolution is pretty dumb. And then, and by dumb, I just mean stupid good, whatever, right? It's stupid good. And the fact that you can do it on like it's the dream play to do it on like the ATTE to like do it again. But sure, if they remove your die, you don't get anything, but you also didn't lose anything, right? I mean, I guess that's what you're playing the guy for, except he's got pretty good dice too, right? So like, I think the Rebel Smuggler was kind of too good, right? So I think him being on this list is good. Do I think he's going to come off? Probably. And by come off the watch list, like, do I think he'll ever become anything? Like, I don't think they'll do anything with the Rebel Smuggler, probably, at least for now, because they just changed Unlikely Heroes, which actually directly hits him. So yeah. So, all right, let's go back to the top, talk meta real quick. I mean, what didn't, and so again, that's kind of why I made my statement on the intro. I was like, I was really surprised they did this right before the mid-cycle, because now we're basically in this like innovation period, right? Because if you look at, and I missed the pilot deck, I did. So isn't that everything? Like, so Bo got hit, right? So if you look at your top meta, we really, last week, Moff Gurindon took a hit with Crime Lord, right? And then this week, Bo took a hit. The six-wide pilots took a hit. Jin Han took a hit. So basically, they're just, I mean, it looks to me like they're trying to bring everything down to kind of like the blue hero level. And I'm not saying that like they're preffing blue hero, because I still think red, yellow has all the cards. They're a lot of the good cards. But they're definitely hitting those decks pretty hard. So, I mean, with everything else taking a hit, is Bo Rex Teenage Mutant, or so is Bo Rex without Teenage Mutant Turtles, is that actually still a playable deck or a competitive deck now? Probably is still able to hang, right? I mean, I would think. So, and then the wild cards here to see if anybody can do anything with them in a week is the Thrawn, Iggy, and Yoda. Also Terran, I don't know what you do there. And then basically, can Andrew come up with a Kylo deck pairing in the next week? I don't know. I do have to say, I think that I've always prided myself on my deck building and my creativity, but I'm in a different place, in my life with just the amount of hours and stuff I have to spend and play. So like, I do think that something like this, like for me personally, I think something like this coming, if it was me if it was me pre-K, I think this would have been very exciting for me to go into the mid-cycle with like a completely unknown. I mean, it's almost like going into like a pre-release to a certain, I mean, not really because you have tested, but anyway, I do have to say I'm a little demotivated to play in the competitive side of things just because I know I don't have the time to put in the next week. Whereas like I was going to run Bo Rex. That's what I was going to run just because I'm comfortable with it, right? What doesn't get touched is Hondo, which I already think is a really good deck. Obviously, actually, Hondo Pre doesn't get touched, right, at all? Oh, that's big, actually. Because Trandoshans goes away. That's the other deck I forgot to mention in my counting. So Trandoshans is hurt. Oh, yeah, that's big. So Hondo Pre next weekend? That's big. And then what about these guys? That's why I just threw them up because they were one of the overlays I made we haven't done yet. But I don't think these guys are necessarily there. But with all the crazy ramp going, I don't know, maybe these guys pop up. They're really cool. They're really fun deck. Yeah, that's interesting. All right, so how long have we been? We've been here probably way too long. So anyway, fair enough. But lots of stuff to talk about. Lots of ideas. Hondo Pre, man, they didn't lose anything, did they? I don't think they did. I had to check this one more time. Sorry, I don't think they lost anything. Yeah, I mean Den of Thieves you play, but that's still on the watch list. So okay, so there you go, right? The meta shakeup, 8 days, 9 days, whatever it is before the. I gotta check. I'm gonna feel real embarrassed if I'm getting the date wrong, but I'm like 99% sure it's February 26th. Yes, which is 8 days away. So I did it right. Throwing up the banner. So anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in. I mean, heck, let me know what you guys are thinking about everything on it, right? Is it too soon, or is it too close to the mid-cycle for you? Are you excited because it's that close to mid-cycle? I know a lot of people probably are. Like Beacon's probably like, it's great. I mean, and more respect, like mass respect to those guys. And then what are you looking at playing? What decks do you agree? Do you disagree? You upset? You happy? Whatever. Let us know. So very, very exciting times to always get changes like this because the minds can get going. I'm going to probably have to figure out whether or not I can play Bo Rex or maybe I play Hondo Pre. Okay, so now I'm actually getting myself remotivated because now there's some decks I've been playing that are actually back. So, okay. Anyway, folks, let me know what you're thinking, or just leave any comment. Remember, the more comments we get, more likes we get, help us engage other people for Star Wars Destiny. And man, I've seen a lot of people popping up in the Facebook asking questions and stuff like that, and those are got them on the line. Set the hook, baby. So anyway, folks, that's enough for today. Thank you very much, and go Commando.